Welcome back to our readings of devotions from the great William J. Today we are looking at Numbers chapter 21 verses 4 through 9. The Bible says, "From Mount Hor they set out by the way to the Red Sea to go around the land of Edom. And the people became impatient on the way. And the people spoke against God and against Moses. 'Why have you brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no food and no water, and we loathe this worthless food.' Then the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, so that many of the people of Israel died. And the people came to Moses and said, 'We have sinned, for we have spoken against the Lord and against you. Pray to the Lord that he take away the serpents from us.' So Moses prayed for the people. And the Lord said to Moses, 'Make a fiery serpent and set it on a pole, and everyone who is bitten, when he sees it, shall live.' So Moses made a bronze serpent and set it on a pole. And if the serpent bit anyone, he would look at the bronze serpent and live." Now there will be here several references to the book Pilgrim's Progress, one of the greatest books written of all time, an allegory about the Christian life, and I highly recommend that you read it. So there might be some things here that don't exactly make sense to you, but if you have read Pilgrim's Progress, you'll be good to go. Let me go ahead with William J. William J. writes, "The people of God are described to us as various characters in the scriptures, and not one of them is more common, more just, more pleasing, and more instructive than the image of strangers and pilgrims upon the earth. And who doesn't know what a beautiful use John Bunyan made of it in his wonderful book, Pilgrim's Progress? So what is there in the way to discourage the souls of travelers journeying heavenward? A great deal. Sometimes they are affected by the length of the way, for hope deferred makes the heart sick. This was the case with Israel at this time, for instead of passing through the land of Edom, they had to travel a long way around Edom, and all of this was through a wilderness under a burning sky. If a worn and weary traveler, supposing he was near his journey's end, was to learn that it was still many miles off, his heart would be ready to faint and utter the sigh of despondence, 'Oh, I shall never reach it.' What Isaiah says, 'They shall behold the land that is very far off,' may be applied to the experience of Christians with regard to heaven. It is often a long time before they arrive there. For they are not removed from this world as soon as they are converted, but are detained here to be made ready for their destination, and to honor their Redeemer, and serve their generation. Therefore, many of them are longer on earth after they have been called by grace than the Jews' time wandering in the wilderness after leaving Egypt. Here we see how slow they were to progress in their faith and the things they worried about. Once, says the soul, I was ready to receive the blessing, but now it seems to recede as I advance. Yes, the distance between me and the final destination seems to increase every day. How long will you forget me, O Lord? Forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long shall I take counsel in my soul and have sorrow in my heart? Every day? My soul waits for the Lord more than they who watch for the morning. Oh, when will it dawn? When will you come to me?" Sometimes they were discouraged along the way because of the enemies that infested it. In the rebuilding of the Second Temple, we are told that every man worked with one hand while the other hand held a weapon. This was difficult labor. But the Christian's life is a warfare as well as a pilgrimage. He moves on, bearing his sword as well as his staff, now to walk and fight too, and to contend every step of the way with adversaries possessing everything to make them formidable. And it seems as soon as one is vanquished, another comes rising up. This is arduous and trying. And what wonder is it that when we are not fighting against things outside of us, we are fighting fears within us. This way to our heavenly destination also shows many travelers who are turning back and this is often discouraging. We had heard of their setting off on the way when they first professed their allegiance to Christ. We walked closely to them for a time, but they soon left us, seeming to surpass us not only in gifts but grace, and we both commended them and envied them. How grievous to see them returning vicious or infidel, or lovers of this present world. We instantly remember and apply to them the awful declaration, "If any man draw back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him." And who can help but thinking of himself? What am I? And may I also prove to be a castaway? In addition, these revolters never come back silent. They solicit us to join them in going back. They assure us that the way ahead is impassable. They have tried it and hope their experience will make us wise. Sadly, they once thought certain ideas to be erroneous and certain indulgences to be sinful, but now they are more enlightened and liberal. Such people never become a neutral relationship with us. From friends, they necessarily become enemies. They persecute us if they have the opportunity. They always reproach and vilify, even in their own defense, defaming the party and the cause to justify their secession from them. It can also be discouraging to find that the way is so narrow. Narrow is the way that leads to life. The difficulty, therefore, of getting through is great. A way is made narrow by the near approximation of the boundaries, whether it be walls, ditches, or hedges. And the Christian must press through, but can hardly do it without some injury on the right hand or on the left. In the exercise of every grace and the performance of every duty, a Christian has to keep between two extremes. As to the use of the means of grace, such as reading the Bible or praying, we must neither neglect nor idolize them. As to connections and relations in life, we may sin by not loving them enough, or by loving them too much. Courage lies between rashness and fear, and for frugality between overspending and being miserly, and confidence between presumption and despondency, and patience between despising the chastening of the Lord and fainting when we are rebuked by him. This path is no easy passage. These are the general challenges on our journey, but there are particular parts that are especially trying, such as the Slough of Despond, the Valley of Humiliation, the hill difficulty with the lions, and the deep, cold river to be waded through before the shining city can be entered. A Christian knows what all this means and sometimes finds it hard to believe that the way to glory lies through it all. Am I then setting out for the heavenly world? Let me be careful to not prepare myself for surprise and disappointment by expecting that everything will be smooth and flowery and delightful. I cannot indeed look for too much from the promises of God. They are so exceedingly great and precious, but I must look for it in God's own order. I must deny myself and take up my cross and not be lazy, but be a follower of those who through faith and patience have reached the high prize of their calling. Have I professed and hoped that I am a Christian? Let me not conclude that I have no part nor lot in the matter, because my soul is sometimes cast down and disquieted within me. Have not those who have gone before me wept and groaned also? Are not the subjects of divine grace represented by their fears as well as their confidence, by their sorrow as well as their joy? Yet let me endeavor to go on my way rejoicing. Let me remember that there is much to encourage me because of the way, an unerring guide, an almighty guard, companions, strength to hold on, refreshments along the road, and the end of it, perfect rest and peace and glory and joy. Lots to think about. Thanks for listening in. Hope to see you next time.